The African landscape hadn't changed much, still windswept, still dotted with acacia trees and scattered bones. But something else had shifted. Quietly, internally, it was no longer just about surviving. It was about shaping the world. Somewhere between 3 and 2 million years ago, a new genus emerged, Homo. And with it, a new kind of awareness. This was not a single step, but a slow branching. Fossils like Homo habilis, discovered in Olduvai Gorge, reveal smaller teeth, larger brains, and better tool use than their Australopithecine cousins. This wasn't about brute strength, it was about mental agility. The tools of Homo habilis, Oldowan tools, were simpler than what we see in later species, but they marked a clear cognitive leap. They weren't just reacting to the world, they were planning within it. Tool use implies a model of the future. Glyn Isaac, paleoanthropologist. What changed wasn't just the shape of the stone, it was the shape of thought. The first true innovations emerged. Tools that weren't just used, but were chosen, modified, carried. A sharp edge wasn't random. It was remembered and made again. Innovation also meant solving new problems. How to butcher an animal faster. How to crack tougher bones. How to defend a carcass from scavengers. Each small adaptation pointed to a growing working memory, the ability to visualize and act across time. This was the slow birth of intentional living. Control of fire may have emerged with Homo erectus around 1.5 to 1 million years ago. Charred bones and hearth-like burn patterns suggest fire was no longer just watched, it was tamed. With fire came a revolution. It changed how humans cooked food, making nutrients easier to digest, lit the dark, extending social hours, kept warm, allowing for movement into colder zones, protected themselves, keeping predators away at night. Fire became a gathering point, a place where bonds were strengthened and perhaps stories were made. As tools and fire improved, so did the complexity of early societies. Survival was no longer an individual act, it was collective. This meant sharing food across generations, dividing labor between foraging and protection, recognizing roles, value, memory. These hominins began to understand each other, not just as bodies, but as minds. They laughed, they mourned, they taught. And in that teaching, something new was born. Culture. Speech leaves no fossils, but evidence of symbolic behavior begins to emerge, faint and scattered. Ochre used as pigment in caves, Blombos, South Africa, approximately 100,000 years ago. Beads and carved bones. Burial patterns suggesting reverence. These weren't accidents. They were expressions. Expression requires imagination. It reflects identity. Symbolic thinking doesn't just describe the world, it transforms it. The hominins of this era weren't only surviving, they were beginning to mean. With growing intelligence came expanding range. By 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus left Africa, entering Eurasia, facing new climates, new predators, and learning to survive through adaptation. Fires became more necessary. Clothing may have developed. Seasonal planning and more refined toolkits. In colder zones, cooperation became a matter of life and death. Those who could coordinate survived. Those who didn't, vanished. Migration wasn't conquest, it was learning at scale. Across the savannah, early humans didn't just leave footprints. They left systems. Systems of foraging, hunting, sheltering, teaching. For the first time in evolutionary history, information began to outlive individuals. A new kind of inheritance emerged. Not genetic, but cultural. Grandmothers taught grandchildren. Knowledge crossed generations. Mistakes became lessons, not deaths. Memory evolved from instinct into tradition. Not all survived. Many species of Homo emerged and disappeared. Homo naledi, Homo florescensis, Homo heidelbergensis. All ancestors with promise, none with permanence. Yet each contributed something to the mosaic. Tools, traits, migrations, perhaps even symbolic behaviors. Only one lineage would endure. Homo sapiens. What made the difference? Likely it was the mind. Not the largest muscles, not the biggest brains, but the most flexible and symbolic thinkers. So how did early humans survive 4 million years ago? They adapted. Then they imagined. Then they remembered. They watched fire and learned to hold it. They cracked stones and learned to shape them. They moved together not as instinct, but as choice. And over time, that choice became voice, that voice became meaning, and meaning became the first breath of humanity.